Hey guys, today I'm filming a review on the ColourPop pressed eyeshadows. I have done reviews on almost every single product that ColourPop has created. I will have all of my other reviews linked down below in case you'd like to hear my thoughts on other ColourPop products. So just jumping right into the review, for price and availability, the single eyeshadow pans retail for $5 and you get this palette for free when you purchase 4 eyeshadows. This palette is not available on its own. It is something that you can only get when you buy 4 eyeshadows, and it is for free. Also, I wanted to note that you can only get 2 free palettes per order. So if you plan on purchasing a bunch of eyeshadows, I recommend only putting 8 in each transaction because you will have enough for free shipping and you will be able to get enough palettes for all of your shadows, if that makes sense, just so that you don't end up having a bunch of shadows with no palette to put them in. Make sure you split up the transactions if you're really wanting these palettes. And these products are exclusively on ColourPopCosmetics.com. So for packaging, I'll be talking about the packaging of the sleeve for the individual shadows as well as the palette, and these actually both have the same design. So this is what the sleeve looks like. It is just a white cardstock packaging. On the top you have silver stars and ColourPop written in silver writing. You also have this little clear window here so you can see what your eyeshadow looks like. And I think that this packaging is really cute considering that most people are probably going to throw this away. So for the packaging of the palette, it is that same white. You do have ColourPop and the stars both in silver, and you do have this little clear window here, which I don't think is the cutest, but I do think it's important to have this so that you can see the colors of your shadow. And this is like a sturdy cardboard material. As you can see, it is purple on the sides and it has this little magnetic flap. When you open it up, the inside of this packaging is purple with silver stars and it says "Made You Look," which is kind of cute. And then you have the insert with the places for your 4 shadows, and as you can see there is this little divot here, so it's really easy to pop them in and out. Also, something important to note is what I saw on Instagram is that you can actually take out this insert and you can fit 10 eyeshadows in here. I have not done that because I like the layout currently, but I will include an Instagram picture so you guys can see what it looks like. I definitely think it is a good idea if you have a lot of shadows to pop out the insert because you can fit 10 in here, which is fantastic because this is for free, and the small Z palettes only fit 9 eyeshadows, and I think those palettes cost $15. So this is a free palette and it actually fits more than a small Z palette. So I did want to mention that. What a fantastic tip. And the inside, once you pull out the insert, is magnetic, so your shadows will definitely stick to the palette and stay in place. So I think this is great. Is it the cutest packaging, the best quality? Definitely not, but I think that this is great. It does a job. This is sturdy for traveling, and also it's for free. So ColourPop currently has a ton of shades in this pressed powder formula. Their original launch had a ton of eyeshadows, neutrals, colorful shimmers, and mattes. And then they did release a bunch of shadows on Valentine's Day. They released all of their Valentine's shadows as singles, and they released a bunch of green and some pink shades. And then for their spring collection, they have a bunch of different quads, and they also have individual shadows in the Nectar Peach and Sand collection. So I will try to have all of those listed down below with our color descriptions, but in case the description box gets too long, I will just give you guys the color descriptions of the 4 shades I have. And I'm also going to be linking swatch videos from Makeup by Jessie, who is my favorite ColourPop swatcher, and a couple other people. I will try to have all of the swatch videos down below so you can see what all of the shadows look like. Also, for the finishes, these eyeshadows do come in shimmer and matte finishes. So to show you the shades I have, all 4 of these are from the Valentine's Day collection. I have 2 shimmers and 2 mattes. I have Double Date, Pinky Promise, Going Steady, 143. So these 2 are purples and these 2 are burgundies, which are some of my favorite shades, and I knew I had to pick these up. And I also wanted to be able to test out the shimmer and the matte formulas. Here's the swatch of Double Date. Here's the swatch of Pinky Promise. Here's the swatch of Going Steady. Here is the swatch of 143. So for pigmentation, I did find that these shades were very pigmented. That lightest shade, Double Date, I did have to build that one a little bit more because it is a lighter shade, but all of these were very pigmented. So now for the textures and the finishes, for the two shimmer shades, they did have a more smooth texture to them. And for these shimmer shades, I don't feel like Double Date has as much of a shine to it as Pinky Promise does. For being shimmer shades, they definitely are not metallic. They're just lightly shimmery, but they are different enough to tell that they're not matte, but they aren't the most shimmery. And then for the matte shades in the pan, they do feel very dry, but I didn't have issues applying them. But did want to note that when I am swatching them and just feeling the pan, they definitely do feel more on the dry side. But as you can see from the swatches, these definitely are not a satin shadow. They are completely matte. So now for the application and the lasting power, I'm actually wearing all four of these eyeshadows on my eyes today. So on this eye, I am wearing Double Date in my lid and 143 in my crease. On this eye, I'm wearing Pinky Promise on my lid and Going Steady in my crease. So for the application, I did use the shimmers on my lid and they perform just like any other pressed powder eyeshadow. I just applied them with my MAC 239 flat shooter brush. It did a perfect job packing on the color. And then for the matte shades, because they are really deep, I didn't want them to look so stark and intense. So I applied with my MAC 286 Duo Fiber Taper Blending Brush. That way I could apply the color but also blend it out so it wasn't so harsh. I feel like all of these eyeshadows applied really nicely. They did not skip. They were not patchy. They blended well. The only shade I did have some trouble with is 143 because it is such an intense bright purple. I really did have to blend this one out to make sure it wasn't patchy, and that's because purples like that are really hard to formulate, but I do think I was able to blend it out nicely and also make it not look so intense. So for the shimmery shades on the lid, I highly recommend putting them over top of a cream base. And yes, the shadows are pigmented on their own, but as I said, the metallic sheen isn't so intense. And if you really want these eyeshadows to stand out, I highly recommend putting them over top of a base. It really helped me. That is what I did for my look today. And if you're curious which bases I use, under the Double Date shade on this eye, I use the Maybelline Color Tattoo in Black Orchid, which unfortunately was limited edition. And on this eye, under Pinky Promise, I use the Maybelline Color Tattoo in the shade Pomegranate Punk, which I believe was discontinued. But any cream base I think is essential with these eyeshadows to make them really stand out and be intense and really just to get the best effect from these. So the way that I apply my eyeshadows is transition color, cream base, lid color, then I'll go back in with my crease and outer corner color. And basically every single time I do my eyeshadow, after I go through all those steps, I will go back and intensify the lid shade. And with these shadows, I feel like it is definitely important. So as I said, 143, I did have to do a little bit more blending. By the time I was finished blending that, the Double Date shade on my lid was almost completely gone. Like it looked like I just had my base on, which was really disappointing that not only did it fade, it looked like it almost disappeared. So I just went back with my finger and intensified it and it did work out fine. And I do find that once I get all of my eyeshadow on and I'm not blending anymore, I feel like my eyeshadows do last all day. So that's the important part for me, is that they last all day. But I did want to mention that the shadows did almost completely go away when I was blending. So I definitely think it's important with these shimmer shadows to go back in before your liner with a brush or your finger to re-intensify the lid shade. So it's not the biggest deal for me, but it's definitely a bummer that it fades that much. So overall for these eyeshadows, I would rate them a 4 out of 5. I think these colors are beautiful. They do apply nicely. But because of the fact that it does fade on my lid so easily when I'm blending, that is the reason I'm taking off 1 point from these. I think the price is great. The color selection is awesome. I definitely am going to continue buying these, but I'm definitely going to be more excited about the mattes than I am the shimmers. I think I'll probably still buy some of the shimmers if I really like the colors. Also, I wanted to mention that ColourPop is not discontinuing these Super Shock shadows. They said they will never do that. They just want to have both options for regular powder shadows and these Super Shock shadows. So if you're wondering which one I prefer, It depends. I prefer these Super Shock shadows for the lid shades because these are very metallic and intense. My favorite finishes are the pearlized and the ultra metallic because those don't have any glitter. But for the matte shades in the Super Shock shadows, I have been able to make them work, but they aren't the easiest to work with, which is why I don't reach for them as much. And then for the pressed powder shadows, the shimmers leave a bit to be desired, but the mattes are fantastic. So I actually would recommend getting the shimmer shades in the Super Shock shadows and the matte shades in the pressed powder shadow finishes. I think you'll have a lot easier time working with these formulas, and I think you might like the finished result best if you like a really intensely metallic shimmery lid, which I definitely do. So I do still like the shimmer shadows, but they aren't blowing me away. I really do enjoy this formula. It is very inexpensive. They have a ton of shades, so I would highly recommend these, and I would love to know your experiences with these shadows. Please let me know which ones you have and your thoughts on them down below. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.